Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, due to the weather, the video will be from inside. I hope you're okay with this, but I have to record this video. This is very important. As you know, most of you, if not all of you, last night Tucker Carlson have posted on his official website and also is still available on YouTube one of the most important interviews in the modern history, in my opinion, one of the most important conversations, and that was his interview with President of Russia, Vladimir Putin. As we know, well, all of us, don't we, that conversations like this are usually not presented in full length by certain media, if at all, or if they are presented, there are usually clips that are cut out, twisted, put it out of context, and a lot of people don't watch the full speech, and they are not really still understanding the scale of what's going on and the other side of the conflict. So what I decided to do, if you're okay with this, I hope you are, I have few key points here, few takeaways, especially those that were related to Poland, as we know how important Poland is in this very moment and how I believe it will be used. I hope not. If they ever come to their senses in escalating things. So let's start with this. First and foremost, I just want to say, and I'm sure that Tucker Carlson will never watch my video, but I just want to put it out into the universe, how grateful I am that there are people like himself who had enough spine and courage to go to Russia and to have this interview and put it out into the world. And, you know, not everything seems so obvious as people think it is. But he went there and he did this, and now we have one of the greatest leaders out there, if not the greatest, in my opinion, giving an interview for over 2 hours, going through the history lesson, impeccable memory, presenting the points, being sharp, being very clear on the answers. What other leader could do this in this modern world? Tell me. I don't think there are any. I don't know if other leaders in Asia are of this caliber. I'm not familiar with, but pretty impressive. Few questions I picked up for you, and this is in regards to the threat, as Russia is a threat to Poland and other countries. So Tucker says the threat I think you're referring to is a Russian invasion of Poland, Latvia, expansionist behavior. Can you imagine a scenario, Tucker is asking, President Putin, can you imagine a scenario where you send Russian troops to Poland? I'm very glad he asked this question. This is exactly the question that I would like to ask, which I know it's unnecessary, but people still need to hear this answer. So here is the answer to this question. Can you imagine a scenario where you send Russian troops to Poland? And Putin responds, only in one case. If Poland attacks Russia. Why? Because we have no interest in Poland, Latvia, or anywhere else. Why would we do that? We simply don't have any interests. It's just threat mongering. So Tucker continues here and he says, well, the argument I know, you know this, is that, well, he invaded Ukraine, he has territorial aims across the continent. And you're saying, unequivocally, you don't. And Putin responds again, it is absolutely out of the question. You just don't have to be any kind of analyst. It goes against common sense to get involved in some kind of a global war. And a global war will bring all humanity to the brink of destruction. It's obvious. They have been scaring everyone with us all along. Tomorrow, Russia will use tactical weapons. Tomorrow, Russia will use that. No, the day after tomorrow. So what? In order to extract additional money from US taxpayers and European taxpayers in the confrontation with Russia. And using Ukraine as a theater of war. The goal is to weaken Russia as much as possible. So here is straight to the point, exact answer. Russia is not going to attack Poland unless Poland will do something and attack Russia. We all know it, don't we? So what do you think they're gonna do? Do you think, are they going to take this answer and make peace with it and just stop this story here? Or are they going to create some sort of event to then blame it on Russia? I would like to know your thoughts. You know, being Polish, watching all of this and having, maybe it's not modest, but having some awareness how they are fooling people is just mind-blowing to me. People don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it from the very person they are accusing of something. They just want to believe the lies. There is something else he said, which I didn't know about. Let me read you. This might be a bit longer, but this is something I have. Part of it I knew, but part of it we didn't learn this in the history classes. We didn't. We had a different history. Let's put this way. He says this, in 1921, peace with Poland was proclaimed, and under the treaty, the right bank of the Dnieper River was given back to Poland. He was describing the evolution, the border lines in Ukraine. How many? About 28 minutes he went on the history journey, explaining to Tucker throughout the history how that land was, where this land was actually belonging to, what country, who was there, how was the nation, how this was developing, what country was claiming the rights to that land. Anyway, he says this, in 1939, after Poland cooperated with Hitler, you have to understand this, guys, no one in Poland really, no one, there are probably few people, very few, no one thinks like this, that Poland cooperated with Hitler. So he says this, in 1939, after Poland cooperated with Hitler, and he emphasized again, it did collaborate with Hitler. He says Hitler offered Poland peace and a treaty of friendship, an alliance, demanding in return that Poland give back to Germany the so-called Danzig, which is Gdańsk now, Danzig corridor, the city on the north of Poland by the Baltic coast, which connected the bulk of Germany with East Prussia and Königsberg. After World War I, this territory was transferred to Poland, and instead of Danzig city, a city of Gdańsk emerged. Hitler asked them, meaning Polish, to give it amicably, I don't know this word, but they refused. Still, they collaborated with Hitler and engaged together in the partitioning of Czechoslovakia. I'm telling you guys, I think we have to relearn a lot, okay? A lot. So, the next thing he said is about response to Tucker's question, are you worried that what's happening in Ukraine could lead to something much larger and much more horrible? And how motivated are you just to call the US government and say, let's come to terms? And Putin says, he actually answered this twice, if not more than twice. This was at the very end of the interview. So I was under the impression that maybe, and this is, I'm just trying to tell you how I felt about this, because I felt like maybe Tucker didn't quite get this answer, or he was so, I don't know, maybe he just misunderstood this, because in a way he asked the same question again, just like in a different way, pretty much. So Putin says, I've already said that. We did not refuse to talk. We are willing to negotiate. It's a Western side, and Ukraine is obviously a satellite state of the United States. It is evident we both understand what is happening. This financial support, 72 billion US dollars, was provided. Germany ranks second, then other European countries come. Dozens of billions of US dollars are going to Ukraine. There is a huge influx of weapons. In this case, you should tell the current Ukrainian leadership to stop and come to negotiating table, rescind this absurd decree we did not refuse. As we know, in Istanbul, what was it, 18 months ago, a year and a half ago, that agreement was, as Putin said in the interview, peace agreement was ready, was almost completely signed by the Ukrainian side, but Zelensky, influenced by Boris Johnson, who went there, they decided not to honor this document, which exists. There is such a treaty already, there is such a peace deal already. So, Putin says, if Zelensky administration in Ukraine refuses to negotiate, I assume they did it under the influence of Washington. If Washington believes it to be the wrong decision, let it abandon it. Let it find a delicate excuse so that no one is insulted. Let it come up with a way out. It was not us who made this decision, it was them. Can you imagine how many people would be still alive and how the country of Ukraine will look like if they will not abandon that peace deal that they had already pretty much mostly signed, as he said. The last part of this interview was a very profound moment, because it showed you something about Putin that, since I started to study more, looking more for the truth in these events between Russia and Ukraine, I was not into politics like I am in the last 2 years. That aspect of faith, God, soul, is something that is a big part of Putin. When I look at him, I see it. And the end of the interview, I perceive this as a very, very profound message. And I'm so glad that they kind of went a little bit longer, because he was able to say it. Almost it was like a divine order. And I want to read you exactly those words, because they were very, very important. And I hope you stay all the way to the end of this video, because the last sentence is very, very profound. So this is about the Ukraine. The relations between the people will be rebuilt anyway, Putin said. It will take a lot of time, but they will heal. I will give you a very unusual example. There is a combat encounter on the battlefield. Here is a specific example, he says. Ukrainian soldiers got encircled. This is an example from a real life. Our soldiers, Russian soldiers, were shouting to them. Here is the quote, what they were shouting. There is no chance. Surrender yourselves, come out, and you will be alive. End of quote. Suddenly, the Ukrainian soldiers were screaming from there in Russian, in perfect Russian, Putin says, saying, Russians do not surrender. And all of them perished. And here Putin goes on and says they still identify themselves as Russians. What is happening to a certain extent is an element of a civil war. Everyone in the West thinks that Russian people have been split by hostilities forever. No. They will be reunited. The unity is still there. Why are the Ukrainian authorities dismantling the Ukrainian Orthodox Church? Because it brings together not only the territory, it brings together our souls. No one will be able to separate the soul. And I want to end this video with this. No one will be able to separate the soul. Incredibly important interview. If you haven't watched it yet, please make sure to do so. What I'm going to do, I will attach the link from Tucker's website and YouTube channel down below this video. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. All the links to my locals, Instagram, Rumble, mailing list, Buy Me a Coffee, PayPal are down below this video. Lots of love. And remember, we are the leading edge and we are saving humanity. Bye everyone.